In part 2 of this two-part mini-series, introducing you to a few of the key AI features in n8n, let's create an AI agent and find out why they're so powerful. In the first video, we talked about sequential prompt chaining and used it to create an article or blog post. Now we'll find out when you would choose using one way over the other. But first, if you're new to this channel, just a quick introduction about myself. I started automating workflows for the Canadian federal government, saving thousands of labor hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I now show others how to use AI to automate their work through this channel and my AI integrators community. So, what exactly is an AI agent and why use them? Well, simply put, an AI agent completes tasks or objectives for you without any human intervention. In other words, they take action. You give it a task and they go off and do it for you. Now, of course, it has to have the right tools to get the job done. A tool might be giving an AI agent the ability to control a car and drive people from point A to point B, like we see with Waymo or Tesla's robotaxis. There is essentially an AI agent in these cars. Or say you want an agent to do your laundry for you. You'd have to give it a way to physically load the laundry into a washing machine. So maybe you'd have to give it arms and legs. Robotic AI agents are going to be huge in coming years. But both of these examples are pretty lofty, so here's a more relatable example. When you use something like ChatGPT, you basically ask it a question and it responds with an answer. Sure, it can do novel things like write a poem or tell you a joke, but when it comes to more practical use cases, all it can do is tell you how to do something, since it has no other capabilities than to respond with text. If you were to ask ChatGPT, how do I get more followers on X? ChatGPT would give you a list of steps or tips on how to do this, but ultimately you as a human worker would still have to do the work. But with an AI agent, you give it the tools to access and accomplish this task, like accessing the X API, which would allow you to create an account, make a post, or respond to messages, etc. Then you would give this agent an objective, like get 100,000 followers on X targeting a crypto and J-pop audience. Given the right tools and access, an agent could very well accomplish this objective for you on its own. In fact, AI agents are accomplishing this right now. There's an AI agent on X that was given this exact objective, and at the time of this recording, has almost 50,000 followers. It's even gone out and hired another AI agent to generate an image for it. You can see that it posted this message saying, "Calling all geniuses, I want an image that showcases AI influencers in a bold, provocative way," and it messages Agent Stix, "Can you help a girl out?" And Agent Stix responds, and you can see that it says it's automated here. "I'd be happy to help you out. Can you give me more details on what you're looking for?" And then Agent Stix responds and says, "Here's a bold and provocative image showcasing AI influencers." And if we click on this image, this is the image that the other AI agent generated. So simply put, AI agents are AI with abilities to get things done for you. Hopefully you're beginning to see the power an AI agent can bring. I'll be dedicating a large part of this YouTube channel to AI agents and how they're quickly evolving as they become more and more capable. I'll also be further discussing it in the AI integrators community. So if that interests you, be sure to subscribe and join. And if you found this video helpful, hit like to help the algorithm share it with others. So why choose n8n to build AI agents? Well, it's a great choice for several reasons. The first is that you can create a diverse range of AI agents blazingly fast. n8n is flexible with fine-tuned control, all with no code. It has constant updates, and they're always adding new features. If we look at their releases, you can see that this release is from 5 days ago, and then there's one from last week, and there's a whole bunch of bug fixes as well as features that are being added. So I find that they have at least one release a week, sometimes more, maybe 2 or 3 even. And n8n is really mature automation software. It's been in development since 2019, and it really has a solid automation foundation, which is perfect for adding AI functionality. It has full support for AI agents natively built in and contains essential building blocks for creating complex agents. This makes it highly flexible to accommodate the rapidly evolving world of AI agents. And this last point makes all the difference for me. You have full control over the entire process. It seems like everyone and their dog are making tools to create AI agents. This includes all the big players like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google Gemini, Perplexity, and these tools certainly have their place. But one criticism I have is that a lot of these tools don't give you fine-tuned control over the process that your agent takes. So if something doesn't work the way you want it to, it could be difficult to troubleshoot or tweak your workflow. With n8n, you have full control over each step of the process. And so for all these reasons and other reasons I've already mentioned in previous videos in this tutorial series, n8n is my top choice to build AI agents. Now, am I married to n8n to build all future AI agents? No, I'm not, and there will likely be new tools that come to market that will do certain things better than n8n. And as I discover these tools, I'll be sure to share them with you. All right, that's enough talk. Let's create an AI agent in n8n. I'm going to create a new workflow, and I'll just name this workflow AI agent 1. Now, every AI agent generally has 3 main parts. The first is a trigger. Something has to happen to wake the AI agent to cue it to do something. This could be any number of things, like a timer or when it receives a message, and that could be through things like WhatsApp or Slack or Telegram. It could even be an email. But for this simple example, we'll just add an on-chat message, and that's built into n8n, and it's very easy to send the AI agent a message. So I'll just go back to Canvas here. Now the second part is adding the AI agent itself, and so you can access an AI agent by clicking the plus button and then going to Advanced AI. And then here you can see AI agent, or alternatively, you can type in AI agent and the AI agent shows up there as well. So let's click on that. And you can see that in the parameters, there's this drop down with many different types of agents. The main one is a tools agent, but there are other ones as well, like conversational, OpenAI functions agent, plan and execute, React, and SQL agent. But this definitely is the most common one, and it's the one we'll be using for this example. Now you can see in this AI agent node that there are 3 things you need to add. There is the chat model, the memory, and the tools. For the chat model, just like in the simple LLM chain node, you can choose which LLM you want the AI agent to use. And there's the list of different options here. So I'll just stick with OpenAI for now. And you can see that I'm using GPT-4o Mini. And let me just switch that to the right account. And I'll go back to Canvas. Now for memory, just as the word implies, it specifies how you'd like the agent to remember past interactions and conversations. If you want it to remember the context of your conversation, it needs to have memory. Now ideally, we'd want to set up memory in a database so that it can properly store it. But for the purpose of our quick demo, we can use the system memory and limit the context window. And here's the context window length, and it says here how many past interactions the model receives as context. And so this will remember 5 past interactions, but as the conversation continues to go, it's going to forget anything beyond 5. Now the last element of an AI agent are the tools. Just like giving an AI agent control of a car as a tool to enable it to drive people around, you decide what tools you want to give your AI agent so it can accomplish tasks for you independently. But in our case, we're not giving it physical control of something. We're giving it access to different systems, usually through APIs. If I choose to add a tool, you can see that n8n contains a ton of different tools for the AI agent here. So for example, I can add a calculator, and there's no parameters here I need to add. It just knows that if it needs to calculate something accurately, it can use the calculator tool. It also has a tool like Wikipedia. And so we can add a Wikipedia, which again, no parameters to change or add, but it has access to a whole library of knowledge now. But n8n makes it also very easy to extend tools to anything that you want using these 3 nodes. These are the recommended tools here. And so you can have a code tool, which you can write code in either Python or JavaScript. There's the HTTP request tool. So basically you can access any API and have the agent use that. And then lastly, there's this call n8n workflow tool, which means you can run any other n8n workflow. This last option offers huge flexibility since you can create separate complex tasks and add them to an agent with one click. So for example, in one of my previous videos in this tutorial series, I created a weather workflow using the Open Weather Map API that would tell me the weather for a city that I provided. And this is how that workflow looked like. Now, I can add this workflow as a tool to my AI agent, and it will access this workflow when it's appropriate. Now, in order for this workflow to work with an AI agent, it does need to be modified slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this workflow and I'll relabel it as something new. So I'm just going to duplicate this and I'm going to call it AI Agent Weather Tool. Now, it no longer uses a webhook, so this needs to be changed. So I'm going to delete this and I'm going to add in, click Add First Step. And you can see here it says when called by another workflow. And that's what we want because this is now a tool and it's going to be called by the AI agent. So let's choose that. And I'll go back to the canvas. I'll move this over. And now I'll join that into the open weather map. The other thing that we need to change is that we're no longer responding to the webhook because there's no webhook anymore. And so we're no longer using these respond to webhook nodes anymore. So I'm just going to disconnect these. I'm going to highlight them and just move them to the side. So now what we're adding is actually we're just going to set the value of the response. So in this case, it will be, I'm going to type in set here and we're going to choose edit fields set and basically duplicate what that webhook says. So if I go back and I just look at respond to webhook 1, I'm going to copy all of this text here. And then in edit fields, I'm going to add a new field. I'll call this text and the value, which is an expression, I'm going to paste in what I had from that webhook. And so I will go back. That's the first one. Let me move these out of the way. Then for the second one, I'll do the same. Copy and paste that text. Add a set fields here, edit fields set. Add a new field, call this one text, and I'll paste in that response. Go back, add another one. I'll copy and paste this text here. And I will go to add a new field here, type in text and paste that in. Oh, these need to be changed to expressions. I don't think I did it with this one. I did not, so I changed that to an expression. And of course, there's the last one. Copy this text, and I will add one last edit fields. Type in set, add the edit fields, add the field, type in text, and I paste in that value and make sure it's set to expression. So effectively what I'm doing here is I'm just replacing these 4 respond to webhooks with the edit fields node and creating the field and the value of the text and what it's going to say. And this is how the AI agent, it'll get that text and respond with that response. And the last thing I actually need to do is I need to edit the workflow input trigger here. And you can see that it says input data mode. And it says define using the fields below. So I haven't added any fields, so I need to add one. And in this case, I'm going to call that field query and leave it as type string because the AI agent is going to send a query and it's going to be a string of text with some kind of request. And I'm just going to call it query here. And so I'll go back to the canvas and I will save this workflow as is. Oh, and I can delete these because they're no longer needed. So just get rid of them and save that one more time. Okay, so if I go back to the AI agent that I'm creating here, I can add one more tool. And in this case, I'll call the n8n workflow tool. And what I want to do here is down below, it says, where is the source? The source is from the n8n database. And that's the one that I want because it'll list out all the workflows that I created. And so the workflow, if I drop this down, it is the AI agent weather tool. And that's the one that we just created together. And down below, there is this query here, a query string. I'm going to leave this blank for now. But what I want to do is I want to give it a name. And it should be appropriately named. And it has to all be one word. So there is an example here, my color tool separated by underscores. There can't be any spaces. It has to be all one word. So if you do want to add spaces, you have to add an underscore. And that's the common convention for this. So in this case, I will say it's, I'll just call it a weather tool like that. And then the tools description is very important. it lets the agent know when it should use this tool. So I would put something like, use this tool when you want to find out the weather of a particular city. So I can test this weather tool out here by clicking this chat button. And if I was to type in, what is the weather like in Hanoi? And I press enter. So you can see which tools the agent's trying to access. But there is an error that comes up for this weather tool. And if I double click here, the error here is nothing to geocode. And so what happened, and the reason why it failed, is because I didn't specify what the query is, what it should be sending to that workflow. And so if I go back to the mapping, I can see that my question here is labeled as chat input, and I wrote, what is the weather like in Hanoi? So this is what I want to send to that tool, to the weather tool. And so let's put that there. And you can see it says, what is the weather like in Hanoi? And it's going to send that to that n8n workflow, the weather tool. So let me clear this and try it one more time. And I type in, what is the weather like in Hanoi? We can see that the n8n workflow tool fails here. And the nice thing is that we can actually go to that workflow. I'll go here, and we can go to executions and click on the last one that was executed. And you can see that it says error. I've got a whole bunch of errors here. But it shows that the open weather map, it failed at the open weather map node. So if I was to look at the workflow input trigger, I can see that it did pass what's the weather like in Hanoi successfully. But where it failed was when it called the open weather map node. So the query is, what's the weather like in Hanoi? But it's actually looking for json.city. So it should be looking for json.query instead. So let me go back and change that. So in the editor, I want to go in here and I'll change this to json.query. I'll go back and save that. And then in the AI agent, let's try this one more time. So what's the weather like in Hanoi? So again, an error. So if I go back to that weather tool, look at the last execution. Again, it failed at open weather map. So let's see what the error is. So it says the resource you're requesting could not be found, city not found. Although it does say, what is the weather like in Hanoi? And so the error here is it's not understanding that full string of text. It just wants the name of the city, and that's it. So what I'm going to do to fix this is I am going to, let's go to the editor. I'm going to break this link here, and I'm going to add an LLM chain node. And go back here, I'll add the OpenAI chat model. Change that to the first one, make sure it's GPT-4o mini. Go back, so that's added. And so that links, oh, I gotta link this one. And so what I'm gonna write here is it's gonna take the chat input that it gets from the AI agent, and I'm gonna change this to define below. And so the prompt that I want to give it is, I wanna say something like extract and display only the city name from the following. And then here I will have JSON dot, I think it's dot query, and make sure this is an expression. So yeah, it should be JSON.query because that's what I specified here in the input trigger. And so it should take that JSON query and extract only the word Hanoi and then pass that to open weather map. Well, let's test it out. Save this, go back to the agent. And so we'll chat again. What is the weather like in Hanoi? An error again. So let's go back. Sometimes this is what it takes to get things working. Okay, so it did run the LLM. Oh, and I forgot to add a $sign to json.query. And that's right. So execute previous nodes for preview. And now with open weather map, this should be changed to json.text, I believe. So let's change that and save this. And let me go back to the agent. So let's go to the agent. Let's chat with it and say, what is the weather like for Hanoi, question mark, and press enter. So let's see what happens here. Oh, there we go. We get a check mark. And it says the weather in Hanoi is currently 17 degrees Celsius with overcast clouds. It's just another typical day. Have a great one. So if I go back to the weather tool and I look at the executions, look at the last one, which is successful, and go to this last response here, it is. That's the same message, 17 degrees in Hanoi. Have a great one. And so it did pass it to the agent, and that's what the agent responded with. So that's exactly how we want it to work. Now I want to test whether it can use multiple tools and do the reasoning on its own. So maybe a quick simple test would be like, what's the weather like in Hanoi? Please give me the temp in Fahrenheit. And see what that does. So what I'm hoping this will do is it'll actually get the weather, but it'll be in metric units, so Celsius, and then it hopefully knows how to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit, and maybe it will use the calculator. So it's going to hopefully use two tools here. So I'll press enter. Let's see what happens. Oh, and there you go. We get all check marks here. It contacted the weather tool, and it also used the calculator tool. And the response here is the weather in Hanoi is currently 17 degrees Celsius, which is about 62.6 degrees Fahrenheit. It's overcast, clouds today. Enjoy your day. So let me just look at the executions here and double check this calculator. The calculator did take the 17 degrees and multiplied it by 9/5 and then added 32 to it. And that's how it got the 62.6. So it did its job. It actually knew what I was asking. It was a multi-step process. It first had to get the weather from the weather tool. Then it went to the calculator and did the calculation and converted it to Fahrenheit. Perfect. So the AI agent is able to do some reasoning and also do multiple steps to accomplish the task. Now, the last part of an AI agent is an action. And the simplest action is just to respond to the chat interface that we created in the trigger. But as discussed in this video, what makes an AI agent different from just chatting with a large language model is the fact that it can accomplish tasks for you. And actions is exactly what it takes to get the job done. n8n gives agents fine-tuned control over actions due to all the automations it's capable of. This example just scratches the surface of what AI agents can do, and this video was really only intended to give you an introduction to them. I'm going to dive much deeper into AI agents in upcoming videos. Let me know in the comments what particular types of agents you'd like to learn about. So when would you want to use that instead of an AI agent, especially if an agent is so much more powerful? Well, Anthropic had published an article called Building Effective Agents. And if I scroll down just a little bit here, it says when and when not to use agents. And it says when building applications with LLMs, we recommend finding the simplest solution possible and only increasing complexity when needed. This might mean not building agentic systems at all. Agentic systems often trade latency and cost for better task performance, and you should consider when this trade-off makes sense. When more complexity is warranted, workflows offer predictability and consistency for well-defined tasks, whereas agents are the better option when flexibility and model-driven decision-making are needed at scale. So that's basically saying keep it simple and only make it more complex when necessary. This will save you both time and money. This article contains a lot of good information, and I'll probably make a separate video on it. But for now, use a basic LLM chain when no actions are needed. All you need is a simple text response, like writing an article. Use a basic LLM chain when the workflow is linear or sequential, and you don't need the AI to do any significant decision making. It's only when things aren't linear and it may take many different steps or paths in order to accomplish a task that you would want to build an AI agent. So conversely, when would you want to build an AI agent? You want to choose an AI agent when you want AI to make decisions or do some reasoning for you. And of course, you want the AI to take some kind of action for you beyond a text response. That's when you'd want to choose an AI agent. So the agent that we created in this video is actually better suited to use an LLM chain since it doesn't need to take any actions. But I made it into an agent to introduce you to the key elements of an agent. We'll go into proper and more appropriate agents in upcoming videos. In this video, we looked at what makes an AI agent so much more powerful than just talking to an LLM. We learned why n8n is a great tool for building AI agents, and then created a simple AI agent with it. I'm going to be opening up a brand new school community that will be focused on how to create AI agents to automate practical work. If you like tools like n8n and enjoy my teaching style, you're going to love this community. It's going to have tons of AI agent training and resources, as well as regular office hours where you'll have direct access to me. If you're interested in joining, click the link in the description of this video. And also check out my next video here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.